Good evening. My name is Bob Connors. It's now 6:05 p.m. I'd like to call the meeting to order for the June 17th meeting of the Newbury Conservation Commission. Mason, could you please read the remote open meeting law?
As a preliminary matter, this is Mason Ferret, Conservation Agent of the Newbury Conservation Commission, and I call the June 17th meeting to order and permit me to confirm that all members are present and can hear me. Members, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Mary Rimmer,
Yes.
TJ Conti, Mick Brown, Diane O'Brien,
Yes.
Woody Knight,
Yes.
Frank Wettenkamp,
Yes.
and Bob Connors.
Yes.
Good evening, everyone. This open meeting of the Newbury Conservation Commission is being conducted remotely, consistent with Governor Baker's executive order of March 12th, 2020, due to the current state of emergency in the Commonwealth due to the outbreak of the COVID-19 virus. In order to mitigate the transmission of the COVID-19 virus, we have been advised and directed by the Commonwealth to suspend public gatherings, and as such, the governor's order suspends the requirement of the open meeting law to have all meetings in a publicly accessible physical location. Further, all members of public bodies are allowed and encouraged to participate remotely. Ensuring public access does not ensure public participation unless such participation is required by law. This meeting will feature public comment. For this meeting, the Newbury Conservation Commission is convening by Zoom as posted on the agenda of the Conservation Commission section of the town's website, identifying how the public may join. Please be aware that other folks may be able to see you, and take care not to screen share your computer. Anything that you broadcast may be captured by the recording. Applicants or their representatives may be called upon to speak and/or share information to the screen if able on the fly. We're now turning to the first item on the agenda, but before we do so, permit me to cover some ground rules for effective and clear conduct of our business and to ensure accurate meeting minutes. The chair will introduce each speaker on the agenda. After they conclude their remarks, the chair will go down the line of members, inviting each by name to provide any comments, questions, or motions. Please hold until your name is called. Further, please remember to mute your microphone, please remember to use earbuds, and please remember to speak clearly and in a way that helps generate accurate minutes. For any response, please wait till the chair yields the floor to you and state your name before speaking. Board and committee members should be called upon in the first name alphabetical order to ease the process. After the board and committee members have spoken, the chair will afford public comment as follows. The chair will first seek questions through the chat function. When participants are using this function, please list your name, address, and then your question. The chair will then seek questions from the public who wish to speak. They'll be asked to identify their names, address, question, and once the chair has a list of all public commentators, they'll call on each by name and afford 3 minutes for any comments. Finally, each vote taken in this meeting will be conducted by roll call vote.
Okay, thank you, Mason. Upcoming meeting dates, and I just want to make sure everyone it's clear, we're only going to be meeting once in July and once in August. Typically, we would meet twice a month, but due to summer schedules, quorums seem to be a problem. So upcoming meeting date is July 1st and August 5th. Okay, first order is meeting minutes review for the 6/3/25 meeting. Why don't we take a moment to look at that, review it, see if there's any comments, concerns, or corrections. Mary, I did get a copy of you made a couple of edits and a couple of additions to it, which I think is fine. Adds clarity where it's always needed. Okay, no questions? Anyone have questions? Okay, I will entertain a motion to approve the meeting minutes for June 3rd. All right, Diane, second.
No, that wasn't I wasn't making the motion. Which one are we going by? There's one here that has edits and one that doesn't.
There's one that had it's red line. Mary added some additional comments to it.
So that's the one we're using?
Yeah.
Oh, so moved.
Yeah, okay. Second.
Yes, second, sorry.
Okay, yeah, thank you, Mary. Okay, roll call, all in favor. Mary,
Yes.
DJ, Woody.
I wasn't present at that meeting. I'm sorry, Bob.
Okay,
no,
nope, that's okay. Diane,
Yes.
Frank,
Yes.
and Bob Connors votes yes. So we have a quorum, that's great. Okay, next matter is it's a request for determination of applicability. DPW, Upper Green Maintenance, Newbury DPW is submitting an RDA to clean up and the maintenance of the pond at the Upper Green. Project is focusing on the management of pond weeds and aquatic vegetation. Mason, can you provide an overview on this one and a recommendation?
Yep, so this is a project that DPW reached out to me about, to do some maintenance of the upper green. The amount of vegetation on the pond's edge has increased over the past year or two. And there's been a request to, thin this out and sort of clean it up. So they're planning on doing, sort of, mechanical removal of some of the, pond weeds and aquatic vegetation. But nothing major, just some minor vegetation removal.
So, so the original, is that a man-made pond or is that a natural pond? I'm not sure.
Um,
Not that it probably matters, it's still jurisdictional, but.
I am unsure.
Yeah, I can't answer that question either, actually.
Okay. Mason, do you have any information, a plan, or did they submit any documentation with this?
So I just have a rough plot plan off of Newbury My Map, and then I believe James is here to discuss
Okay,
details of how it'll go down.
yeah. Hey, James, why don't you, welcome, why don't you identify yourself, give us your title, and then why don't you let everyone know what you're looking to do at the Upper Green Pond? James, you may be on mute.
Okay. Can you hear me now, Bob?
Yes, I can.
Oh,
Good evening, Jim.
yeah. James Surratt, Newbury DPW Director. Yeah, the vegetation's just really starting to take over. It started out in just a couple spots, but it's really working its way around the whole pond, and it's taken over. So we'd like to just try to take it out, thin it out, and get it out of there, and before it takes over the whole pond.
Okay, now, are you thinking of doing it mechanically or pulling it by hand?
Mechanically, if we could, yeah. It's pretty rugged.
Okay. Well, Jim, why don't you hold there for questions? And Mary, we're going to count on you for your expertise on this one.
So Jim, I seem to recall that the past, I don't know, 5 or 10 years ago, there was a notice of intent filed for some maintenance and algae removal from this pond. Do you?
Yes,
Okay.
there was.
And I'm assuming that has expired, but are you using similar methods as the former notice of intent?
No, the other one was really was focused on the allergy, not so much I'm not sure on the exact type of weed that is. Talking with Mason, it's an invasive weed. But the other one was really just the bacteria and the quality of the water, for the fish and frogs and everything to live.
Right.
Which we believe we accomplished, according to, it was, the guy's name was John Hayden, I believe was his last name, who did it all. Stopped doing it, but every year the pond seemed to be okay. It didn't need as much attention. But this doesn't seem to be that. It just seems to be this weed taking over and, kind of growing in the edges. And then, you can't really see to the pond anymore because the grass grows up and, the kids coming down, and it's just kind of sightly. And you really, if the kids are walking along the edge and stuff, you can't even really look into the pond anymore.
In certain places, yeah. So I went by there today, and there's a lot of algae, filamentous algae that's growing in the pond again. Which, because it's so shallow, and as soon as the water heats up, you're going to have that, and it's going to continue, and it's going to build up, across. And then but the vegetation that's growing along the edges is all native rushes and sedges. So the issue here is that this is a resource area, even though it's kind of almost like a stormwater pond, but it's not receiving any stormwater. It's a man-made, bathtub. I don't know if it has an outlet, but it doesn't appear to have any inlet. Actually, no, that's not true. I think that we determined that there is an inlet somewhere buried. It might not be functional, but
Yeah, and there is an outlet on it too.
is
There's
that
a pipe that when it gets to a certain height, it goes in. There's like a screen in the corner, and then it goes into like the regular drainage, storm
right?
drain.
So because the pond is more than 10,000 square feet in size, it's regulated under the Wetland Protection Act. But what you're proposing to do, I assuming it's just operating from the banks and reaching in with an excavator.
Correct, correct.
Yeah. Is technically altering the resource to do it. It's not really maintenance of the invasives that was done before. So I'm trying to figure out a way to what kind of category to put this in. I don't have a good answer for that right now, but I would like to see what was filed previously, because some of that background data might be useful now. And it's not really an RDA situation because you're actually working right in the resource area here, and we don't have any kind of plan showing where you're going to work, how much area you're going to, you're going to disturb, what kind of siltation controls, if any, are going to be put in to prevent downstream impacts. And there's some details that, we would need to have in order to look at this. So,
Okay.
I think that I'd like to reach out to Newburyport because they have this similar situation on the Mall. They may have ultimately determined that one wasn't jurisdictional. I don't know, but they have to go through the same thing. It's a town amenity. It's you want to keep it as open water. I totally understand that. I'm just trying to figure out how we go about our end of things.
So, mhm. Yeah, no, and if we need to get more detail, by all means, we can do whatever we got to do too on our end.
Yeah, okay. Because Mason, I think maybe we could maybe reuse some of the information that was submitted on previous filing.
Mhm.
No, Mason, I'm curious, because you made a point, Mary, that it's a 10,000 square foot or more.
It's
on-
probably 20,000 square feet. I measured it today.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
We answered my question.
Yeah.
I always view it as this little pond, obviously, but
Yeah, it's definitely over
yeah, okay.
the threshold.
Well, listen, we're gonna do it right, so.
Yeah.
So let me go through all the other members and then James, it sounds like that you and Mason can get together and review the old order of conditions and the original filing. But you may need a third party to help you with that too.
Okay.
depending on- But so hang on, Jim, just let me go through the other members to
Yep,
make sure
no
there's no
problem.
other questions. Woody, do you have any questions for Jim on this one?
I don't have any questions for Jim. Maintenance of the pond is important and, to do it right is important, too. So I watched the algae project quite a few years ago and it seemed to do the job. I don't know how bad the algae's got now, but I know that I heard it was a success in the past, so.
Didn't they
That'd
add
be
an
a good-
aerator? Wasn't there an aerator? There was a project there that someone was doing. He added a water quality aerator too.
And some beads,
There
I think, weren't there the beads that they put in there? That
There
were
was
like,
an
was
aerator,
an
there was an aerator at one time though.
Yeah, there definitely was, and this John didn't seem to think that was doing us any good. So that we stopped using it, and he didn't think, like Mary said, like he said, the biggest thing is the water temperature. It just gets so warm in the summertime.
Woody, anything else?
No, just, to work with Mason and we'll get it straightened out.
Okay. Diane, any questions for Jim or any comments you want to add to the discussion?
No, thank you.
Thank you, Diane. Frank, how about yourself?
I'm just curious if Mary, as you said, this is going to be a recurring issue. Is there a way to do a one-time solution that can be repeated when it's necessary?
The
Or does it have to be reviewed again each time?
yeah, the permit can be, we can, for restoration work, we can permit up to 5 years. And then
Mhm.
that can be renewable, for a couple of times. So you can, eventually you'd need to refile again, but you can extend the period that, for not having to refile. My
Okay.
concern is that some of that pond fringe is actually good habitat. There was a great blue heron out there when I was there and looking for frogs in that grass. So
Hmm.
it does provide some habitat in there. So it's just, there's something that can be done. It's just, we want to make sure that we do
Do
as
it right.
the least amount necessary.
Okay.
Okay. Jim, I don't have any questions, so what I'm gonna suggest is we'll just table this for now. You and Mason get together and see what you come up with. And I
Yep.
think Mason, if you talk to your town administrator, if you need to hire a third party, to help you out with this, or to provide the documentation necessary, then I think that would be the next step. Okay, thank you, Jim.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, guys. Have a good night.
Okay, next order of business is a request for determination about applicability. 22nd, 14th Street applicant is submitting an RDA for an in-kind replacement of masonry stairs on Plum Island. Mason, can you give us an overview? Can you put up a plan or pictures if you have them?
Yep. So yeah, this is in-kind masonry replacement of stairs and a retaining wall on Plum Island. Photos are not loading. Give me 1 second. So yeah, this is going to be in-kind replacement, no expansion of anything existing. From conversations I've had with the applicant, this is going to be the same material being replaced in kind. The applicant is here and he has a presentation as well that I can share.
Okay. All right, well, welcome. Give us your name and your address, and if you would, make your presentation.
Hi, Bob, and everyone. I'm Edward Olin, 22 14th Street in Newbury.
Good evening. Ed.
Good evening. I have it handy, Mason, if you'd rather I just share.
Yep, yeah, go ahead.
All right, let me make sure. Is it showing for everybody?
There it
Yep.
is.
There it is.
Okay, really, Mason and I have talked about this a little bit. The house is approximately 55, 60 years old right now. I'm going to just show you some pictures to help you try to understand the location, but the property has a cinder block structure along the back stairs that holds up a landing. To the right of that cinder block structure is a precast concrete set of stairs to get up kind of to that level. There's also a cinder block wall across the street that supports the front stairs in a similar fashion. And on the other side of that is a fieldstone wall near the front stairs. The winter has some ice got in there, expanded, contracted, refroze, etc. Did some damage on the back stair and the front wall. The front wall also appears, it's on the corner of the property. It appears that most likely an Amazon driver or someone has now backed into the wall as well and caused some damage. But since March, I would say with the additional rains, it has really kind of intensified how fast things are crumbling. So I'll just show you some pictures. Here's what we're talking about. This is 22 14th Street with the four-season porch here. So there's this cinder block structure here, which holds up the landing. And then just to the left of these stairs is another wall, which is right up on the road. From an overview from above, what I'm referring to, A is the back stairs, C is the fieldstone wall, and then you have this cinder block in the front, which has some sea roses in front of that right along 14th Street. And you can kind of see it's a little blurry from this satellite picture, but it was the best one I could find right there. So if we were to start at A, this is the big problem area. This whole corner is basically gone now. I've propped it up with some pavers that I had extra that were laying around, but this is somewhat becoming unsafe. So we're using the front entrance primarily. But as our second exit out of the property, we're looking to get some approvals so I can then get contractors in and see what needs to be done here. Little close up of the stairs that you can't see kind of on the other side of this railing here. They're also having some problems where some, again, I would assume it's ice has gotten in there and started cracking the individual cinder blocks. On the front hand side, you can see where this railing mounts up here. It's starting to crack and break and crumble as well. This is I'll zoom this up in case someone's looking on a small laptop like I am. But here's that long wall on 14th Street. Many of the cinder blocks are in the same type of situation, which has just been a little bit exasperated by the fact that I don't have a great picture of it, but down on this side, they're really damaged from, again, apparently people backing into them. So if you're, here and you look towards B and C, this is what the view looks like. So you can see there's this old fieldstone wall here, then what appears to be precast concrete right up against that other wall. So just looking to understand, what the process is and how I move forward so I can repair all this and make sure we have access to both points in and out of the house, but I also don't want this wall crumbling down into the street, causing any types of problems for, emergency vehicles or anything like that.
Edward, what are you proposing to replace your existing masonry walls with?
Well, I'm going to hire a mason, of course, and see what the best solution is, especially towards the back here, where it's not exactly clear to me. Sorry, let me zoom back out. It's not clear to me if this is a totally separate structure or if these are somewhat supporting each other for the three-season porch. Ironically, those cinder blocks look fine, but again, I'm not a mason. But when Mason and I were speaking, we were talking about just replacing it with the same type of material, or if something is newer or better out there that will last longer. But I haven't yet gotten quotes because I didn't know what this whole process entails.
And you're proposing just to replace in kind, not adding any expansion, just wherever you have a footprint now of a retaining wall or stair, you're looking to either repair or replace as required.
Yeah, absolutely. Candidly, I don't really have anywhere to go, especially in the front, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, just replace what you see there.
Okay, why don't I hold you there for questions from the members? Mary, questions for Edward on this one? Yeah, Mary, you may be muted if you're.
Sorry about that. Inside of this landing area, is that just empty space? Or is that,
You're saying in here?
yeah,
It appears to be when I look
Yeah.
through this hole, it does look like the guy who built it probably threw some debris in there as well when I look down. But I don't know if Arthur Fairbrother was the former owner. He was the gentleman that built the house. I'm not sure if he did it himself or if he had someone else do the masonry work. But
Yep.
yeah, it appears to be, a hollow rectangle.
yeah, I'm just wondering whether or not, any consideration for just taking it out and rebuilding it with, some pier supports and taking out some of this concrete that might be a little more resilient. I mean, it looks like you're gonna continue to have ice and whatever kind of spalling that's happening on these structures. Is, something to consider is just you are able to replace in kind, but right now we don't have a very good sense of how much the extent of work is until you meet with your mason. So, on some of those retaining walls, maybe it's just a matter of pointing them and replacing a few blocks rather than taking the whole thing down. But if you're gonna, it's a considerable difference in the construction related impact and how many conditions we might have to put on it. So I'm wondering if maybe you may need to get a little more information from your mason on exactly what makes sense to do, and how much it's these structures to replace versus just rebuild in a way that's a little more resilient and easier to maintain in the future. It's just my thoughts.
Okay, thank you, Mary. Woody, what are your thoughts?
Definitely looks like some of it's met its life. The fieldstone wall looks like it most likely could be repaired. And otherwise, the extent of work, what needs to be replaced and what doesn't need to be replaced would be nice to know. But other than that, I don't have any questions.
Okay, thank you, Woody. Diane, questions for Edward?
I just had a couple notes, and the RDA just said it was going to be replacing stairs, so I thought it was just going to be a stairway, but it's a lot of walls as well. And I just made the same note, if you haven't met with your mason yet, then how do you know what the extent of the work is going to be and whether or not you are just going to be replacing in kind or not? So it was a situation, if we approve it today or have a negative determination, then you meet with your mason and he's like, well, this isn't going to exactly be the same. You're going to need to come back again, or
Yeah, this is my first time through the process, Diane, so thank you everyone for your comments. I wasn't sure what the process was, nor did I find any, document aside from the conversations I've been having with Mason from the Conservation Commission. If you have particular questions, this is the first time I've even embarked on this, right? So my intent is to get multiple quotes from multiple people, and I can ask any questions that you all have, but based on my experience of doing construction projects at airports and things like that, most of these cinder blocks that are exposed to the elements are in really bad shape. So whether it's replaced in kind or replaced with something more resilient, as was spoken, my intent is to be a good caretaker of the property and have it fixed correctly. If there's better materials or a better solution that the mason said can be done, that's not 10x the cost, I would look to do that. So
yeah, and
I take your advice.
you'll be able to replace it in kind. It's just a matter of what disturbances are there going to be around there, maybe or maybe not, as they're doing the work and things along those lines. But I'm not saying it's not an RDA. It's just maybe some more information from your mason might be more helpful. Maybe a little plan to show, in fact, that it is within the same footprint. That's it.
Thank you, Diane. Frank, questions for Edward on this?
I'm just wondering if we can give him a bullet point list of information that we need so he doesn't spin his wheels when he comes back.
No, let's see.
Mason, are you able to give him some specific requests of information needed?
Yeah, I think once Ed would, talk with his stonemason and decide, what actually needed to be replaced or not. From there, they could work together, or I could work with Ed to try to, put together a brief sketch identifying what needs to be fixed and to what extent.
Yeah. Okay.
Anything else, Frank?
No, that's it. Thanks.
Okay. So Edward, obviously, I'm in the construction business, it sounds like, as you are. Masonry blocks do have a useful life, and it looks like you've approached the end of your useful life. The salinity up here, as we all come to discover that live on the island. So, I mean, to do a recap, you have the ability to replace in kind which is footprint. You can put the stairs back where they are. You can put the retaining walls where they are. The selection of materials, again, we manage more your footprint and impact on the resource area than the actual construction materials that you will select. I'm assuming that you're gonna wanna have them all kind of match, and you don't wanna have a hodgepodge of dissimilar field stone in one area, shade block, whatever in another area, or the cinder block, so.
Mm-hmm.
So I think from my perspective, this is an RDA. You're entitled to replace everything in kind that's at the end of its useful life. I think if you can come back with the materials you're selecting, do you have a plot plan of your property that shows all of this? You probably, when you bought the house, there would have been a certified plot plan or a.
Yeah, I do have one somewhere. Yeah,
Okay.
with the closing blocks.
Yeah, I think if you can add the dimensions on that, that gives us the layout of the footprint if it's representative of what's in the field. And then I think the big thing is the staging area is usually going to be the driveway, where you're going to store materials and haul off the debris. And I think that's probably the starting point. I think you're on the right track with an RDA. But I think if you can get us a plot plan, have your site meeting with your mason, and then just come back with what your global plan is for all of it.
Okay. Now,
Okay.
the one question I have is if this back stairs gets significantly worse, what am I able to do, like as an emergency, to shore it up, if anything?
It's a second egress to your property, so
Mhm.
you can certainly do emergency repairs on it.
Okay,
And ultimately, you're entitled to replace it. You're just checking the boxes as you're aware. So
yep. Okay.
that would be my perspective on this. I'm going to circle back. Mary, do you want to add any comments on that?
Sorry, I lost connection for a little bit, so back, but say that update paperwork so that it includes all of the work that you're proposing to do, marking up a plan, and maybe consider another contractor other than a mason to see whether or not there might be other ways of rebuilding this structurally that accomplish the same thing, that would be more compliant with current, dune standards, beach standards.
Yeah, what we had suggested, Mary, was that if he has an original site plan or a survey plan of the property, just add the dimensions on the plan. And I'm not sure how far back you get cut off, but the intent is he wants to have a uniform look on the walls. He doesn't want to have cinder block and one that's falling apart, fieldstone and another. So he wants to be able to have a similar, look throughout all areas. And he understands that cannot exceed the footprint. He is entitled to repair like kind with what he has. And he's going to meet with his mason, dig out that plan, and we'll see if we can get you back on our July 1st agenda, Ed. The one question he had was the back steps. He wants to know if he can do some emergency repairs, not tearing them out, but I mean, certainly, Ed, if your mason comes over and does some patching or something like that, or stabilization, that's it's your second egress. So that was kind of the recap, Mayor. I'm not sure where you dropped off and came back on that.
Thank you.
And what he was going to do, the other thing was his driveway be used as a staging area for materials or spoils. And what will happen, Edward, too, is any disturbance of the vegetation, when taking a wall out, putting it in, you're going to disturb the vegetation. We would require that you would restore that vegetation like kind. It looks like you probably have a grass lawn rather than beach grass. So
correct. Yeah.
that's really the gist of it, but
Okay, thank you.
anyone else have any questions? Or Mason, do you have any questions or suggestions for Edward to come back to you with?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, once he talks with a contractor, feel free to reach out, and we can button up anything we need to in terms of site plan updating or any other supplemental information.
Okay. So
Great,
Edward,
thank
why don't
you.
we do this? We'll put you back on the agenda for our July 1st meeting. If you're
Mhm.
ready to go, great. If not, just let Mason know. We'll kick you back to the next meeting.
I will push to be ready because the back
You-
ones really concern me. So,
Yeah.
yep, no worries.
But I think if you, when you're doing the repairs on the back stairs, it is a secondary means of egress for your home. If it
Yeah.
gets beyond patching, just go check in with Mason first.
Yeah, I'm just concerned they'll, take one corner off and start repairing it, and then it's
Yeah,
gonna be, like a body you open up and it's surprisingly cancer everywhere when you thought it was one tumor. So
Yeah.
I'll do my best to move quickly. Thank you.
okay. All right, any raised hands from the audience at this time, from the public, Mason?
Seeing none.
Okay. So I think you have what we're looking for, and we'll put you on the July 1st agenda. And if you have an emergency, just talk to Mason and
Okay.
coordinate it with him on those stairs.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate it.
Okay. Well, this doesn't require a motion to continue because it's a meeting in public. It's not a public meeting. All right, we're not having a public hearing, so we'll put you on the July 1st agenda, Edward, and good luck. Thank you. Okay, next meeting is a request for a determination of applicability. Plum Island Bridge East Parking Area. The town has submitted an RDA to permit the repaving of a public access area on Plum Island Turnpike following a proposed donation to the town for labor and materials. To qualify that, Mason, they're not repaving the whole area. They're looking at graveling, putting gravel in on the area that's gravel.
Right.
And is there a pavement apron at the beginning?
I think just barely on the roadside, but not much.
Okay,
once you get
so there
down.
might just be patching.
Yep.
Okay. All right, where does this stand? I know there was a question on the ownership, whether it was the town, the state. That's actually, I think that's Bub Colby's property that abuts that in that area.
Yeah, so that we're gonna be continuing tonight. Based on that, we need to figure out who the landowner is, and be getting permission from them, before we are moving forward with any sort of potential donation.
Okay, so we'll continue this to our July 1st meeting,
Yep.
and we'll kick this down the road if we don't have an answer.
Right. I'm just thinking this might be a little bit more involved than just maintenance. Based on what I saw there, it's really low. It's subject to the tides right there. It's and it's an ACEC and riverfront area.
So you don't think that's exempt because it's in the road layout?
No, it's not the
Okay.
road. It's it's a parking area.
Well, it's the original road layout for getting to Plum Island before they put the bridge in. so-
Yeah, but it's not, I don't believe that it qualifies under that provision.
Yeah,
It's a
okay.
pretty narrow provision of exemption, which is widening less than a single lane and, adding a sidewalk or something there. This doesn't qualify either way.
Yeah, well, I think good minds can agree to disagree on, I guess if it is town owned and it's within a road layout and they're maintaining it in its current state. But we can talk about this
Yeah,
later.
let's get the
Okay.
details first.
Yep.
Yep. Thank you.
Okay, so this is going to be continued to our July 1st, 2025 meeting. And to determine the ownership, and then if the owner wants to proceed with an RDA on this. Okay, next order of business is a
Yep.
certificate of compliance.
Mr.
for-
Chair,
Yes,
this is Steve Mangiaman. May I make a quick comment about ownership?
yeah, you can, Steve, but the reality is the applicant has requested to continue it. They're not here to respond. So, it's going to be determined by town council or whoever on who owns the property. and that's the next step. So unless you get a certified title exam that you want to share with the Mason, I would say fine, but I mean, what do you want to offer, Steve? I mean, have you done a title search do you know more about this than we do, or are you just speculating?
Perhaps I do. When I was doing parking enforcement for the police department,
Mhm.
I inquired about whether I should enforce any parking regulations on that stretch of property on either side of the bridge.
Yep.
I was told by the chief of police that that was state-owned property and I had no jurisdiction to do ticketing. So that's something I just wanted to share with you. And that
Yeah,
my
you know,
understanding is state property.
we had that, it started out that that's what it appeared to be. When they were doing the road pavement, they had stopped at a certain point before the bridge on both sides. Then there was a discussion with the state that they only own the bridge. So that's what needs to be clarified. So it's, if the state owns it and they want to do something, then that's this next step. And whether it's an RDA or an NOI is to be determined, but.
Right? Thank you.
Yep, then I appreciate your comment. I mean, a lot of people use that, Steve, to launch kayaks down there. Some actually don't mind parking down there and walking the 1/4 mile to the beach. And, but, okay. Does anyone else have a question on that before? As it's been continued and the applicant's not present. Okay, next matter is a certificate of compliance, DEP file number 050-1337 84 Boston Road. Applicant is requesting a full certificate of compliance for a project that was permitted to construct a proposed office garage contractor's shed. Plan amendments were made during the project and an as-built is provided highlighting additional changes. Mason, can you provide an overview on this and who's representing the applicant here tonight?
I believe it's TJ with Millennium. I think he's on here. And just to give a brief overview, I was able to visit the site today. In the Dropbox, there should be an as-built plan that identifies some of the changes that were on there. I had some comments on those. Just let me pull that up. If you'd like, I can go through some of the comments I had while doing my site walk earlier.
Yeah, certainly.
And then if the applicant's representative wants to address any of those comments, they can. So one of the things that was identified on the as-built was missing my notes page. It was the drainage basin. Let me share screen. So there was a drainage basin here. I believe TJ identified one of them as not being built. That's in the as-built. Let me. Hold on. This is the wrong plan.
Mason, why don't I do this? Why don't I have TJ give his presentation and then while you're working on your questions, you'll be the first to.
Yep, that's
Chime
perfect.
in.
Sounds good.
So TJ, if you identify yourself and just give us your name and the position that you're involved with this project on.
Yeah, absolutely. First, can everyone hear me okay? Sorry, I keep getting bounced in and out of the meeting.
Yeah, no, loud and clear.
Okay, perfect. TJ Melvin with Millennium Engineering here on behalf of the applicant. So we're requesting a certificate of compliance for 84 Boston Road. I did submit a letter outlining a few items that were deviated from the approved plan. I can go through them quickly.
Can you post your as-built, TJ?
Yeah,
So then point out the variance.
Yep, no problem.
Thank you.
Mason, when you get a chance, can you just give me screen sharing?
You should be all set.
All right. All right, can everyone see this okay?
Yep, we can see it.
Oh, okay, perfect. Sorry, I have terrible internet issues here. Um, so a couple of the deviations were originally the approved limit of pavement was kind of this area here where my mouse is. The applicant has paved additionally past there. Originally we had an additional catch basin up in this location. Everything kind of drained that way, got caught by the catch basin, then there was an additional manhole. They've regraded the site in a way where this pitches back towards the catch basin here. So the removal of that catch basin and drain manhole, in my opinion, really don't have any effect on the stormwater system. Everything that was supposed to be getting into the system it's just a slightly modified way. The applicant added a holding tank just for anything that were to come into floor drains. It's a solid tank, it doesn't discharge anywhere. It was an additional deviation. Dumpster location was previously up here, and the current dumpster location is here. And the final item was a small sliver right here, where the applicant paved over the lot line. We're going to be discussing with that with the planning board as well. The applicant actually has the purchase and sale agreement to buy this lot. So in most circumstances, it would definitely be something we'd be telling to move. Where they do intend to buy this. Again, there'll be a discussion we'll have with the planning board as well, but I did leave it outlined in the Conservation Commission letter. So those are the major items. I'd be happy to answer any questions that the commission
Yeah,
may have.
so just adding out, so this is a commercial site. You had an original stormwater submittal on this, TJ?
Yes, he did.
Okay.
Sorry,
And you,
I dropped
and
and
you've,
hopped back. I don't know.
yeah, wait, no, it just, you have a stormwater, you had a stormwater review by Joe Siraka. You've made some material changes. Have you submitted, has anyone submitted anything that the changes or this plan to Joe for his review and sign off?
I know we submitted to both conservation and planning. I'm assuming planning is sending it for his review. Actually, I know they're sending it for his review. I haven't seen anything, or I don't know if he's received it at this point.
Okay, because we're actually the approving authority for stormwater. Although in these cases, usually the planning board is the lead. So what are you looking for tonight? Because really, without that stormwater update from Joe, I mean, we're missing some information on this, at least at first glance, but.
Understood.
Okay, let me stop there, TJ, and Mary, why don't we just circulate questions here and see what we're all thinking.
So TJ, the retaining wall that borders the wetland, that was constructed according to the plan?
I believe we had kind of go back in time. I believe we had a slight modification to that out in the field. God, maybe 2 years ago. And I believe we had walked it with, I think it was Sam at that point.
Okay.
But generally, yeah, with the limits of what was approved, it does meet what was originally designed.
Okay, so you don't remember what the modification was? Because I think we had a 25-foot setback there. Is that right?
Yeah, yeah, we're like right on it.
Right.
I will have to dig it up. I apologize. I don't remember exactly what the modification was. It wasn't anything major. I remember it was just a couple tweaks, but I can compare that to that plan as well.
Okay. And is the detention basin vegetated now?
All through here, sorry.
Did you hear me?
What was that?
Was the detention base, is the detention basin fully vegetated now?
Yeah, yep, I have some photos I can show.
Okay, and then the other thing is just, obviously the extent of pavement is greater than what was proposed, so, you know, how that affects the stormwater calcs is gonna be a question.
Yeah, I can jump in as far as the stormwater calcs. When we model gravel, it's a runoff coefficient of 96 versus 98 for pavement. It's a very minimal
Similar.
change. Again, I understand Joe will review it, but typically it's not even a noticeable change.
Okay, and is this all cattail that we're looking at in the basin? I can't tell
Yes.
if it's cattail or Phragmites,
Try and zoom in.
can't tell. Good. So I don't have any other comments, Bob, just the,
Yeah, no, I think we're gonna have to get the updated water, stormwater from Joe. Before we could consider issuing a full certificate. Woody, questions for TJ on this project?
I don't have any specific questions right now. I do know on the planning end, there was a comment of soft curb or hard curb in a wildlife corridor in the back that doesn't appear to be there. But other than that, everyone else has already said everything else on the plan, so that's my only comment.
Okay. Diane, questions for TJ on this?
No, thank you.
Frank, any questions for TJ on this?
No questions, Bob. Thank you.
Okay. Now, TJ, you submitted the as-built to Joe. Was there a cover letter attached to it? And is that the same one that we have?
So we did not submit directly to Joe. We
Mm.
submitted to both planning and conservation.
Okay,
No, I did submit separate letters for conservation and planning. Just kind of highlighting items that are specific to planning versus conservation. Like Woody had mentioned, the curbing change. You know, we do still have the curbing. It was just granted first bituminous.
Yeah.
So some small items like that were different, but I will follow up with Kristen tomorrow to see if that's already been sent to Joe.
Yes,
Okay.
I'm not aware if it's been sent or not. I'm sorry, but I'm just not aware if it's been sent out yet or not.
well, we haven't got a response on whether it's thumbs up or thumbs down on the stormwater calc changes, if they're significant or not. But,
Yeah, I can reach out to Joe tomorrow too, see if he's got it.
okay. Well, why don't we do this, TJ? Why don't we put you on the July 1st agenda?
Sounds good.
Okay, Mason, you had a comment?
Yeah, if I could just add one more thing, from the site walk today, TJ, as you wrap things up and provide supplemental information for next meeting, I would just ask you to clarify or confirm this area here next to this electric box. I think there's another catch basin here. So if you could just verify that there is one here, what number it would be in the plan, and then just confirming that that was the right one that was removed. In terms of what was permitted and then what was done out in the field.
Okay, yeah, I can circle back on that, and I'll actually submit the approved plan and highlight the deviations, the
Okay.
deviated areas, I should say.
That would be great.
All right, anyone else have any questions on this? Are there any raised hands from the public at this time? Okay, all right, TJ, you know what we're looking for, and just keep Mason in the loop. But we'll put you on the July 1st agenda. If you're not ready, just let us know, and we'll continue it.
Great, sounds good.
Okay, thank you, TJ. Have a good day.
Thank you. You too.
Okay. Let me just see.
Did we,
Are we missing?
Bob?
Oh yeah, Joe.
Yeah,
My pages are sticking together, Joe.
so I didn't know whether I was being
No,
dropped.
well, Joe, I saw you, and then I'm looking through my You know what? The humidity out here on the island, all my stuff is sticking together here today, yeah.
Oh, it doesn't say Joe, it says Joyce, so I realized it was my wife's computer. So anyway,
All right, we have a request for a certificate of compliance, DEP file number 050-1377 240th Street. Applicants requesting a full certificate of compliance for the project at 240th Street. Project was permitted for the demolition of existing home on cinder blocks and the rebuild of a single-family home on a pile foundation with associated site work. Mason, could you give us an overview on this and a recommendation?
Yep, I was able to complete a site walk today. Joe had reached out last week or the week before, after they had realized that their mitigation planting was coming in and coming in good. So yeah, the new house is in. It's elevated. The seagrass is in as well. I have some photos that I can share with everyone. And an as-built was provided for the construction of the house. The only thing that I saw on site that was not reflected on the as-built was the stone steps on the back side of the house with the stairs, which we'll see those in these photos as well. But the dune grass looked very good, healthy, growing. This is the front side of the house. And then these here are the only things that I didn't see memorialized on the as-built plan or the approved plan. So that would be the only questions I have. And I'd recommend that the board, inquire about that.
Okay, Joe, you heard Mason's question. So those are just, what are they, bluestone, Joe, or what are the walk?
those are bluestone that takes you to the outdoor washing station that was approved.
Right.
And all of the things that you see here on this particular picture were part of an approval of putting in the stone and the rest of that we did a couple of years ago as a process.
So the inserted concrete pads or bluestone, the big bluestone,
The
that's
big
on,
bluestones are in the back, and this is I don't know what you call those, Bob. but
okay, they're on the original plan that was approved?
I don't know, it's been so many years that I
Yeah,
know that we went to, when you went to some of the other pictures that you showed on the front, we had got approval for a number of the stone to be put in and the columns to be put in. And
no, you did a nice job down there, Joe. Mason, so you have the original approved plan. So the variance between the as-built and the approved plan was the addition of the column 2x2 walking pads.
Yep, correct. And that was the only difference that I had seen.
Okay. Joe, let me hold you there and we'll open this up to questions. Mary, questions for Joe?
Was there anything from Millennium, a letter that accompanied the as-built plan? I didn't see that in the Dropbox.
I don't think there was a narrative, just the as-built plan.
So we have to go through it then to see.
Hmm.
I have the approved plan, but I don't see the as-built plan in the
that
Dropbox.
time, Mary, we were dealing with Matt.
Okay.
I can pull that up.
Yeah, no, actually, I think I put it in late, Mary. It should
Okay,
be in
so
there. Yeah.
I don't think
Yeah.
it's there.
What, Mary? Diane, you couldn't, I
I
put
don't-
this in like 5 minutes before the meeting.
Yeah, it doesn't seem to be in here right now, so
I'll
Okay.
refresh.
You know what, hang on,
I may be able to pull it up. Give me 1 second.
okay, I have 240 at the.
The original plan's there.
Okay, yeah, I'm seeing the original plan. Mason, do you have that? I thought you sent that to me, actually.
is that the as-built plan you just projected? That you just showed on the screen?
Who, me?
What's it?
No, that
No,
was, that was the
that was the
original.
approved plan.
Okay, I think it was the as-built on 84 that you sent over, Mason.
Yeah, I thought I had an as-built from Joe, because we had talked where everything was included on the as-built with the exception of the planting plan. And we had discussed that I didn't think it was necessary for an entirely new as-built, just for the plantings.
Did you, can you put up the as-built?
Yeah, looking for that.
Joe, you wouldn't have the as-built handy on your
No, sir.
computer.
No, sir, I don't. I had a 2.5 hour commute back from Boston,
Well,
something I don't like doing anymore.
it'll be the reason I retire from doing work in Boston, the commute. Can't do construction remotely, apparently.
I'm not seeing it. Joe, had you sent that over via email when we had talked on the phone?
No,
What, so
Well,
there was no, maybe there is no as-built.
Well, did Steve send it over or did,
Joe said he had an as-built, but it just didn't include what was left of the
I
mitigation.
included, when I brought it over to you, Mason, I brought over the landscape plan that needed to be, to show you where the grass was and where the 2 flowers were put in. And obviously where the, generator was done. Frankly, I'm not in the construction business, so what is an as-built drawing?
typically the permitting engineer that did all the permitting for you, Joe, would come in and do an as-built after the fact to submit to
Oh,
the,
well, I'm sure that Millennium did that. I mean, then there was Matt Steiner, who was our guy. And we actually paid for the as-built with Millennium.
I had an email from Steven Sawyer. That was regarding another project. Well, Joe, look, can I make a suggestion? We gotta track down the as-built. Is there any urgency in getting this done tonight? If we have the as-built, it'd just be July 1, rather than waste a lot of time trying to find something that we're not sure if we have yet. Mason can follow up with full Millennium in the morning.
Well, I actually called, which I want you to know, I called Millennium, and
Yeah.
when I said I'd like to speak to Matt, they told me Matt no longer worked there. And I said, all right, well, you know, I'm trying to get this DEP thing done. And they said, well, it's gonna be some time, and no one ever called me back.
Well, we're gonna have the conservation agent call for you tomorrow to get that, and I think everyone has to, all the wetland consultants have to go through Mason, so why don't we do this, Joe? We'll put this on our July 1st meeting. Mason, can you make a call to Millennium and see if they have actually generated an as-built?
Yep, will do.
And
And
then
can you
keep Joe
Explain to
in.
me quickly, what is an as-built? I mean, the house is standing on its where it's supposed to be, and it's facing the same way that it's supposed to be? Is that what an
Yeah.
as is?
You know what it is?
Done with the approval long time ago.
What it is, it's a certified plan that certifies that the work you've done, the house is in the spot that was permitted, or whatever little variance, and it,
Millennium did that, so hopefully you
Yeah.
can get that, Mason.
yeah.
Somewhere I have it in a file, Bob, but it's a couple of years old, and I don't know where that is.
Well, it would have been done just recently, though, because of the planting and the generator location, or they would have added that.
Oh, no, they did not do that.
Oh, they didn't do that.
They didn't do that.
Mason, maybe also check the order of conditions to see whether or not, just to confirm whether or not the as-built was required in this case.
It is required. Yep.
Yeah, it was required. Okay, thank you.
Okay. Yeah, so Joe, you're required to have the as-built. Millennium I mean, anyone. You need an as-built, and usually they give you a cover letter that gives you what little variances sometimes. Nothing ever gets done 100% accurate to what was proposed.
Well, it would, well, all I remember, Bob, is that an as-built for the house was approved. And it went, excuse me, and it went to through the proper channels. And it was approved by obviously the building committee, and I thought through you, but we couldn't do the finish off the landscaping piece, so we went and did the next piece, which was to put the stone in and put the columns in. That was
Right.
approved by you. Then you approved the generator, which we did, and that's installed at this particular moment. And the last piece that Matt always told us was sometime when you get the landscaping in, you get the seagrass in, which again, I'm gonna say we had a hard time getting the seagrass last summer, and then there was the drought, so it never got put in until the fall. Worried about it, whether it'd get through the winter, and it made no sense to put the plants in that they had required and you had approved until recently, which we did last week. So
No.
and I didn't realize I had to go back and get Millennium to come and spend more money with Millennium to have an
So
app.
yeah, a lot of order conditions require an as-built, Joe, and it's gotta be stamped by, a professional. Yours is one that has required it. It's not uncommon on a new construction tear down. But, so what I'm gonna suggest is, let's see if we can work this out with Millennium. You have to have an as-built, Joe, to get signed off for this part of your order. And that is existing conditions in the field as they are, prior to us issuing the certificate, but.
Okay,
All right, Joe, we'll do this, we'll, Mason, put this back on for July 1. And
Yep.
see if we can get this resolved by then.
Yep, and I can reach out to Millennium tomorrow and follow up with you, Joe, as well.
I'd appreciate it.
Yep, will
Okay.
do.
Thank you, Joe, good night. Okay, next matter, continue public hearings. DEP file number 05014472 Plum Island Boulevard. The applicant is submitting a notice of intent to demolish an existing structure on the property and to construct four residential townhomes with two pile supported buildings. There's been an amended plan that's been submitted, team, and it's been reduced to 3 townhouses. That is before us, and it's before the zoning board of appeals. The applicant has not executed the peer review documents or provided funding for the peer review. And according to town council, no further action on the commission's part until those conditions have been met. Those 2 items have been met. The applicant has requested a continuance to the July 1st meeting. So the only action before us tonight is I'll entertain a motion to continue the public hearing at the request of the applicant to our July 1st, 2025 meeting.
So moved.
Second,
Okay,
Meet your friend.
okay, roll call, all in favor, Mary,
Yes,
Woody,
Yes.
Diane,
Yes.
Frank,
yes.
and Bob Connors. Okay. Next matter is another continued public hearing. DEP file number 050145 65 Hanover Street. Applicant is submitting an NRAD to confirm resource areas on the property. Mason, can you provide an overview? And I think Heidi is on the phone.
Yep, so Heidi, Bill, and I were able to do the delineation confirmation last Friday, go out in the field and test some spots that were up for question. So we were able to do that, take soil samples, agree on spots that needed to be changed, and the plans have been changed accordingly. And yeah, I believe Thor is here to present, and then Heidi is here as well if we have any questions.
Okay, well, Heidi, you're a consultant on this matter for peer review. Why don't you walk us through that, and then Thor can respond to the issues in the field. I think that may be, rather hear from our peer review consultant first.
Hello, everyone. So I'm Heidi Gaffney with Northwoods Environmental, and I reviewed the wetland delineation with Bill Manuel of Wetlands and Land Management, who was the original delineator. And of course, Mason was with us. So let's see if I can share my screen. Do I have permission? Oh, can I? Sorry, Mason.
Oh, good, should be able to now.
Okay. Right. So this is the plan. You can see the revised plan they showed. The original wetland line is in the dotted, and the solid is the revisions that were made. I did review the revised plan, and it is exactly how we revised the flags in the field. Some of the key pieces, we did walk essentially the whole site. We followed this up here where there's essentially just roadside drainage just coming from uphill, but we did follow it to confirm it doesn't come from anywhere. There's a catch basin, which is shown here. There's a pipe under the driveway here. There's a pipe under here, it's shown. The flags here, A1 through A9 were missing. They're right along the roadway. The original delineation was done, I believe, 2 years ago, April of 23. So it's not surprising they didn't survive. But based on the plan, I would have no disagreement with the way those flags are shown. There's no room for any difference on the plan right up through flag 9. And we were able to find flag 10 and move our way through. So the review was done, it's open field for the most part. It was done based primarily on soils. There's some large transition zones in here, but you can see changes in the vegetation, topography, and the soils were definitely very telling as far as narrowing in on the larger transition zones. We spent, I believe it was three plus hours reviewing, so we definitely went through each flag step by step. And fairly straightforward though, as far as these fun, complex delineations. Once you get around over to here, there was the reason why this changed from, hopefully you can see my mouse here, but from up here to back here is essentially a little upland area here, but back in here there's Phragmites and it's definitely wet. So there was no need to call out the small island, so we just revised that to go behind, follow the wetland behind that little upland area. Site, of course, was historically disturbed for a very, very long time. It's been field, so the soils were interesting at best. But I feel very confident in the revised line that we were able to establish.
Okay, and your recommendation?
So my recommendation would be to approve the flags, approve this plan as revised, but the specifics to that would be, and I've got it written down here. So the flags that are accurate would be A10 through A13, A18 through A27, A33 through A38, A42 through A49. How you want to handle the ones that were missing, A1 through A9, I don't see any reason, honestly, not to approve them as accurate, because I feel there's just no room for them to have changed at all. I see no reason not to approve those. And then as modified, the flags that were modified were a new A14, an A14-1, new A17, new A28, new A30, new A32, A32-1, new A39, new A40, new A41, A49-1, and A49-2. And then the flags that are eliminated or deleted are A14, A15, A16, A17, A28, A29, A30, A31, A32, A39, A40, A41, A50, A51, and A52. So when it comes to the ORAD form, there's accurate, modified, or the ones that can't be verified, but that's where you'd specify those numbers. That would be my recommendation.
Can you send a draft form?
Sure.
A recommended form to Mason for his review and the commission's review?
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you. Thor, you want to add anything or you want to quit while you're ahead? It doesn't,
Yeah, Thor Akerley from Williams and Sparages representing 65 Hanover Street LLC. I don't have much to add. I think Heidi summarized it really well. I think some of these spots made sense based on our site walk with Mary and Mason. So, it all appears reasonable and logical to me.
okay. All right, why don't I hold everyone there? Questions from the members? Mary, questions for either Heidi or Thor?
No, I'm all set. Thank you.
Okay. Woody, any questions?
No, I'm good. Thank you. Thank you, Heidi.
Okay. Diane, any questions?
No, I'm gonna go with Heidi on this one.
Yeah, can you, Diane, we're gonna have a quiz. Can you recite all those flag numbers for
I
me?
think there was
before we-
44 and 47 and there's a
I'm
lot.
just teasing. Frank, any questions for Heidi or Thor?
No, no
Okay.
question.
I don't have any questions. Any raised hands from the public? Okay. Do any members have a request for a site visit, additional information, plan amendment, or adding additional content to this notice? Hearing none, I will entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second?
So Woody and Diane. Okay, roll call, all in favor. Mary,
Yes.
Woody,
Yes.
Diane,
Yeah.
Frank,
Yes.
and Bob Connors. Okay, this is the time. I think Heidi is giving us a great recap on it. Everyone's comfortable with it. Mason, do you have any further comments before I entertain a motion?
Nope.
Okay, any other comments or questions? I will entertain a motion to issue an order of conditions,
Order of
Uh,
resource area delineation.
order of resource area delineations for 65 Hanover Street.
I would, can I amend that?
Yeah,
Just
no one seconded, we can,
okay,
it's
just
not-
issue an order of resource area delineation, approving the wetland delineation as shown on the revised plans and described by Heidi in her report.
okay. So Mary, why don't you just make the complete motion and then we'll get a second on it. That way it's not hodgepodge from,
I propose a motion to issue an order of resource area delineation approving the revised plan and which includes recommendations from our peer review consultant.
okay. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, so that's Mary and Diane. Okay, roll call, all in favor? Mary,
Yes.
Woody,
Yes.
Diane,
Yes.
Frank,
Yes.
and Bob Connors votes yes. Thank you, Thor. Thank you, Heidi.
Thank
Hey,
you. Have a
ne-
good night.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Thanks, Heidi.
Okay, next matter is an amendment request, DEP file number 0501435 Sunset Club. Applicant is submitting an amendment to the current order of condition that includes the installation of a 40 by 40 open pavilion. The submission addresses the impacts of new resource areas and any change to stormwater management. Mason, can you provide an overview? Has this one been continued?
Yeah, Steve Sawyer had reached out on behalf of the applicant requesting a continuance. So they're requesting to be heard on the July 1st meeting.
Okay. Any questions from anyone before I entertain a motion to continue the public hearing? Okay, I will entertain a motion to continue the public hearing at the applicant's request to our July 1st, 2025 meeting.
So moved.
Second,
Okay, roll call. All in favor? Mary,
Yes,
Woody,
yes,
Diane,
Yes.
Frank,
Yes.
and Bob Connors. All right. Okay, we have no action on enforcement orders.
I have a quick update if I can
Yeah.
share real quick.
Okay,
For
yeah.
30 Riverview Drive, I just talked with Russ Lackey at the end of last week. He is just ordered the plants. He had some issues with the delivery. They didn't have certain sizes in stocks, and there were some substitutions that need to be made. All are same species or all are compatible native species. So that's been approved, and he'll be reaching out this week or next week when the plants go in.
Is he going to install them in the summer or is he going to wait to
I think he's gonna try and put them in as soon as possible.
okay,
Yeah, the holes have already been dug.
yeah. Good. Okay, anything else, team? Mason, what do we have for any updates, general discussions?
Just a reminder for the updated meeting dates for July and August. So we'll be meeting July 1st, 2025, and then August 5th, 2025. Outside of that, I don't have any other updates.
Okay. Anyone have any other questions or matters they want to discuss before the commission? Hearing none, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Okay,
Second.
second. All right. All in favor? Mary, Woody,
Yes.
Yes.
Frank, Diane, and Bob, yes.
Yes.
Meeting at 7:26.
thanks, everyone.
Okay,
Yay.
have a
okay,
good night.
everyone.
Bye.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Aye.
Okay.